everything's difficult without a car. We have definitely set up round here to run for cars. There's no sustainable transport. There's no joined up thinking with the transport. That's how I feel about it. Really angry about it. I live in Merthyr Tydfil, which is 25-30 miles up from Cardiff. Normally, if I had the car, when I was driving, it would take me 25 to 30 minutes, as long as there was no traffic, and I had a parking space in my job, so everything was great. But once my eyesight failed and I couldn't drive any longer, I had to rely on public transport. And suddenly my 9.5, 10-hour days, my 4 days a week, was turning into 13, 14 hours. I was getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning to get to work for 8 o'clock, which is ridiculous, you know, pitch dark, freezing cold, just awful. It was just awful. It was only once I lost the car that I realised how bad it was. You know, you can't get off a bus and get onto a train, or there's no taxis waiting. You know, it was just really expensive as well, whichever way you looked at it, much more expensive than running a car. I think we are definitely discriminated against, because there is, you know, there's nothing set up for us. You know, like Ian Duncan Smith said once, you know, people in the valley should get up and go and work in Cardiff. Well, that'd be fine if we could get to Cardiff at a reasonable time and we could get home. You know, and a lot of people work in boots or, you know, shops for, you know, they're on minimum wage. It's already like a big chunk of their earnings to pay to get onto public transport, to have to pay for taxis on top of that. It wouldn't be worth them working. Just wouldn't be. The people who were in charge don't seem to, you know, they're so far removed from us that rely on public transport. They obviously don't catch it, because if they did, it would change.
I absolutely love cycling. If I'm not cycling to work, I'm usually out on my bike cycling around Cardiff. I just love it. It just gives me so much energy. I live in Roath and I work in Barry, and I normally, most of the time, cycle to work. Cardiff to Barry is not a bad cycle, it's quite flat. So it takes about half an hour, so that's not a problem. And during lockdown, yeah, traffic was quiet, so you could cycle easily without so much fear of cars and other traffic, really. But then soon after lockdown was over, you could kind of see the difference in traffic. And obviously there is no bike lanes pretty much everywhere from my house to Barry, really. There's little bits, but they're very narrow. So you're always sort of fighting against cars. You can see like traffic building up in front of you, but people like to drive near you. So it got pretty scary at times. And obviously through November, December, it got a lot worse and worse. So I was definitely forced to get a car. So the car that I've got now is completely against my objectives in life, really. So I really don't like the car I have. What I like to see is dedicated bike lanes. There are sort of bike lanes everywhere, but sort of linking them would be the initial start. But it would take a bit longer, but I would rather take longer and safer to get to work and not back home. So yeah, connecting those bike lanes that exist, there are several in Cardiff and on the way here as well. So connecting them would be the first start. And then if you can, on the main road, to just have dedicated bike lanes, that would be brilliant. The cyclist there is not just there for fun. Some people, they're there because they can't afford a car. They can't use public transport, so you just have to share the road with everyone, really. People sort of associate roads with cars, but you can share it equally.